The Mustang Morning News is a public forum for student expression. Students make all content decisions, and opinions do not necessarily represent those of the Manhattan Beach Unified School District.
Join us as we report from across Los Angeles and here at home.
We find out why the mayor of Manhattan Beach won't apologize to the Bruce family and what the state is doing about it.
And does returning to school mean returning to bad habits?
This is the Mustang Morning News. Welcome back to the Mustang Morning News. I'm Molly Roskin.
And I'm Walker Watson.
Get your phones ready because up first is the Costa Quiz.
Here's today's question. How many pounds of carbon dioxide does producing one ream or 500 sheets of paper emit?
The answer choices are A, 0.5 pounds, B, 2.8 pounds, C, 4.6 pounds, or D, 10.3 pounds.
Think you know the answer? Submit it through the response box on our Instagram story now at Mustang Morning News.
Last year, the Black Lives Matter movement sparked millions of people around the world to question racist actions made by government and cities, including here in Manhattan Beach. Maya Hernandez reports.
Going to the beach and relaxing is something we take for granted, but in the early 20th century, beaches were segregated by race. To solve that problem, a black couple, Charles and Willa Bruce, built a resort in Manhattan Beach. They bought the land in 1912, but after a series of racist acts, the city of Manhattan Beach took the land through eminent domain in 1929, which is when a city can take land for public use, like parks, government buildings, and transportation. The city did nothing with the land for 30 years and then built a park.
Our family is still suffering from what those people did to us in the 1920s.
The descendants of the Bruces have tried to get their land back for decades. And it wasn't until the Black Lives Matter protests last summer that renewed focus on racist actions of the past. The city of Manhattan Beach created a resident-led task force in October of 2020 to acknowledge the city's racially motivated eminent domain action. The recommendations of the task force were to replace signs at the park, commission an art piece, and adopt a statement of acknowledgement, condemnation, and empathy, but no apology.
So we just heard from hundreds and hundreds of residents saying, don't apologize in my name, that's not fair.
It's an opportunity to change the narrative, to redefine what Manhattan Beach is. And it's saying we no longer are like our predecessors.
They should apologize to set the example for their children, that mature people apologize when something wrong has happened.
I think we as a society would do well to kind of have a collective apology.
A bill proposed by LA County Supervisor Janice Hahn and Senator Stephen Bradford will transfer the land where the LA County Lifeguard Station is located to the descendants of the Bruce family. Bruce's Beach Park is owned by the city of Manhattan Beach and will not be transferred. For years, the Bruce family has asked for compensation for the loss of revenue and punitive damages for the Manhattan Beach Police Department's alleged involvement with the Ku Klux Klan. But the only thing that came of it was renaming the park to Bruce's Beach in 2006. People in the community are very passionate about this. A group of anonymous residents paid for an ad in the Beach Reporter demanding the city not to apologize and to disband the task force by March 16th. And on the 16th of March, the city disbanded the task force.
We don't condone it, but that doesn't make the city racist.
To say that they're not racist is one thing. To behave like you're not racist is another.
The city will not be giving compensation for the loss of revenue or punitive damages to the Bruce family.
We hope to make our family whole again after the injustices that they received at the hands of the trustees of Manhattan Beach.
Every time government can figure out how to make amends, apologize for past discriminations and past injustices, then I think we should.
If approved by the California legislature and signed by Governor Gavin Newsom, the bill will go into effect immediately. The Bruce family will lease the land back to the county. For the Mustang Morning News, this is Maya Hernandez.
Last year, we looked into Coast's excessive paper usage on campus, spending over $50,000 on paper copies. Matt Cohen speaks to teachers on how they learn to switch worksheets for computer screens.
Mayor Costa has always used a lot of paper. In fact, despite the increasing technological opportunities for learning, Costa's paper usage was constantly increasing in the years leading up to the pandemic. Teachers use paper for everything, including handouts, tests, and even submissions.
When I would need to make big copies of, like, say, like a longer ballad poem that we're reading, and maybe I needed to print out several pages of worksheets to go with that. So each student for that unit, which for me is only 2 weeks, is receiving somewhere around 50 pages.
Most of our teachers overused paper without even thinking about it, because that was the way it had always been.
How much paper do I think I might have gone through in a week? And I would say at least a ream or two. Easily. I would, when the students would walk in, I would have 5 piles of different pages for students to take.
But when COVID hit and we were forced to be completely online in a matter of days, these teachers had to figure out how to teach without the necessity of paper.
At the beginning, it was really hard because I had no way of interacting with the paper.
During the harsh switch to online learning, teachers learned a lot about how to use technology and how to go paperless. And as we come back to campus, they'll be continuing some of the things they've learned.
I don't think I'll be making any more copies of like poems and texts. That's all going to have to be done online now. But I think I would maybe ask students at the beginning of the school year, and for those of you who really benefit from having a hard copy of something, let me know, and I'll make that many copies.
But now as I look back on it, I've learned a tremendous amount that I will certainly take with me forward in the future. But I'd rather you be interacting with the worksheet and not have a screen in front of you when we're in person together.
The complete switch to being paperless won't happen overnight, though. There are still lingering problems about technological equity in the district.
Not everyone has the same technology. Not everyone is working from the same platforms. And if the district is going to expect everyone to be working from a digital platform going forward, then you have to provide those resources, those technologies.
For the Mustang Morning News, this is Matthew Cullen.
I'm standing right outside of Sony Pictures Studios, where movies and TV shows like Jeopardy, Spider-Man, and Jumanji are all made. But what challenges has the film industry faced during this pandemic? I interview cast and crew of Leverage Redemption to find out. The pandemic has caused so many areas of our lives to come to a crashing halt, but streaming platforms like Netflix seem to release a new show every week. The entertainment business has been forced to adapt to the pandemic just like everyone else, but in a work setting that involves countless hands and so much collaboration, an extremely contagious virus is one of the worst things that can happen.
In our particular business, the interaction is key. It's really important to the creative process.
In June 2020, an industry-wide task force, including the Directors Guild of America, the Screen Actors Guild, and the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, collaborated with medical professionals to create a 30-page production safety plan called the White Paper. The White Paper lays out the zone or pod system, and while it differs among productions, the pod system aims to separate employees in the safest way possible. A simplified example of this would be Pod 1 as the on-set cast and crew, Pod 2 as base camp, hair, makeup, and catering, and Pod 3 as set design, prep, and production offices. Within the pods, you can find a considerable amount of safety precautions, including social distancing and coronavirus testing.
Our Pod 1 and Pod 2, in addition to Pod 5, they all test 3 times a week. But here on Leverage, we check in everyone every day. We issue them a wristband. We check their temperature. We check their oxygen levels.
These protocols are necessary to keep every member of the team safe, including the actors who take on the unique job of working without their mask on.
I came from basically 7 months of total quarantine with my family to acting in that scene with someone who you could feel them breathing on you, you know?
Regardless of the challenges, the entertainment business is fighting to stay up and running. If not for curing our boredom, then for the 2.6 million American jobs the film and TV industry is currently providing.
There's always limitations, and I think part of the fun of the creative process is having to deal with those.
I'm more proud of this one season of television than a lot of the stuff I've done just because it's been so difficult.
We all signed up to be filmmakers and not, in the medical world, but we've had to transition into their world and they're transitioning into our world.
For the Mustang Morning News, this is Molly Roskin.
Who won today's Costa quiz? Find out now on our Instagram story. While you're there, check out some behind-the-scenes footage and bloopers from the making of this episode.
Thank you so much for watching our show today. I've been an anchor for 3 years now, and I really love being a part of this team and being able to explore my creative side.
This program has helped me grow as a writer, a videographer, and most importantly, as a team member.
It's not too late to join our staff. Scan this QR code to find out more information on what we do and how you can become a staff member. Film and engineering, an unusual pairing. Up next, MiraCosta senior Ethan Nullender shows us how he excels at both his creative and analytical side.
3 things I love the most are music, movies, and Disneyland. I was always really into music. I was in elementary school. I was like, okay, I need to pick up guitar. From there, I decided to pick up clarinet. And I still don't know why I picked up that instrument, to be honest. I was able to go into the other jazz band at Costa, which I'm still a part of today, on drums. Back after freshman year, after I had 1 year with Mr. Hernandez in cinematic arts, I decided I should make a real short film. I was really interested in coming up with something different that I could use to still tell a story. So I came up with a story about an astronaut who discovers a hole in space and adventures through a few parallel universes. I had a fish tank as well, filled with water, black pearlescent ink, blue and purple, all these different kind of colors. Then, with the tool, I would kind of flick it around and make these holes in the liquid. And then after that, I made a little model spaceship and shot it against the blue screen, and then superimposed that over the space footage. That really excited me, so I submitted that to a few film festivals, and one of those was the All-American High School Film Festival in New York City. Eventually, I learned that I had won the Best Visual Effects Award. I know music will stay with me for the rest of my life as the pastime for me. I want to also give movie magic a whole new meaning with engineering. I think that's what my life's work would be based on.